Hello, welcome to the European Open Briefing for Tuesday, May the 16th. I'm Rafi Barajan, currency analyst at XM.com, and we're going to be looking at what's happening in the currency markets today. So we're seeing the US dollar struggle a bit this morning. We had some disappointing data out of the US yesterday, which pared back the expectations further of the number of rate hikes by the Fed this year. And this has boosted other currencies, particularly the euro, which hit a 6-month high a short while ago. But apart from the weaker dollar, we do have growing speculation that the ECB will soon start discussions on how to withdraw its massive stimulus program. We also have Eurozone GDP data coming up later today. In other movers, the Aussie is extending its gains on the back of firmer commodity prices, but we also had the RBA meeting minutes, which perhaps weren't quite as dovish as its statement suggested, and the Canadian dollar is also doing well given the rally we're seeing in oil prices. But let's begin with the dollar-yen pair. We can see that although it did start to recover yesterday, it did fall back after the release of the New York Fed's Empire State Manufacturing Index. It fell to the low since October 2016. That was it turned negative, and only in February it had actually risen to a two and a half year high. So that it's basically we've had a run of disappointing data out of the US, or if not particularly bad, but slightly softer than what would otherwise had been expected. We had slightly soft retail sales data and inflation data last week as well, and this and all of this we're seeing has led to the number of rate hikes by the Fed being pared back to just one more this year. Now there's less than 50% chance that we will see two more rate hikes in 2017, although June rate hike is still pretty much on the cards, but the dollar for the time being is falling back because of the changing outlook. The dollar index actually hit a 6-month low of 98.52 earlier today. Moving on to the euro now, we can see the euro after although it did come off sharply last week following the Macron's win of the French presidential election. We had that 2-week rally after the first round, but then it did come off. We saw a bit of a sell-off last week, and it seems to be reversing those gains and actually beat that high we saw soon after the election result. It hit a 6-month high a short while ago, 1.1036 against the dollar, and apart from the boost from Macron's win, we do have speculation that the European Central Bank will begin discussing how to or when to withdraw its stimulus program at the June meeting, and that would potentially lead to further gains for the euro. And the euro's gains are broad-based. We're seeing the euro hit a 3-week high against sterling of 0.8536 and more than 1-year high 125.15 against the Japanese yen. Moving on to the Australian dollar now, we saw those gains yesterday on the back of higher commodity prices, particularly iron ore prices. Although it did come off a little bit, it has pretty much held on to most of those gains. Of course, the commodity rally is being led by the higher oil prices. We also had the minutes of the RBA's May policy meeting out early today, where perhaps it wasn't quite as dovish as its statement had suggested. We saw the RBA say that it's more confident that underlying inflation will rise to around 2% by early 2018, but it does remain concerned about the labor and the housing market, which it said they need careful monitoring. It also cited uncertainty around China's outlook as being a potential downside risks to Australian exports. But for now, the Aussie is not doing too badly. It's currently trading around 0.7422. And moving on to oil now, we can see in the chart in the orange, we saw that big gains yesterday after Saudi Arabia and Russia gave the strongest signal yet that they are willing to extend the output deal by a further 9 months from June until the end of March 2018. US crude is currently trading just below the $49 a barrel level, and this has boosted the Canadian dollar, which although it had been struggling recently, we had of course those trade tensions with the US, which had hurt the loonie quite a bit. Now we're seeing the Canadian dollar strengthen to near 3-week highs. USD CAD came very close to falling below the 1.36 level yesterday. It's currently trading just above that level. Looking ahead to today's economic calendar, we can see the main data in the European session will be UK inflation data. The pound, like the euro, is doing rather well against the dollar. The pound is once again eyeing the 1.30 level. We also have the German EU economic sentiment survey coming up as well as the second estimate of the Eurozone GDP growth figures for the first quarter. In the US session, we're going to have building permits and housing starts and industrial output, and we're also going to have the dairy auction, the global dairy auction, which usually has a tendency to impact the New Zealand dollar. That's it from me. Thank you very much for watching and have a great day.